as you walk in, read what's on the wall, and then turn to your right because the paintings are hung chronologically. So those that he did as a young boy will be to your right, and then go counterclockwise.
Okay.
Is there a guide tour? Or
There is.
Can we just?
You can. She started it about 8 minutes ago, but you're welcome to join me. She's a very good docent, and she's soon going to take everybody into the gallery and point out things in the painting. I think you'd like that.
My dead brother. Did he know the dead brother? No, he was named for the dead brother. But all the boys' faces make with cherries. And in the middle, the cherries have stems and they become a molecule. And to build this atomic idea. So all the perimeter paintings have something to do with nuclear energy somewhere in them. And they all animate. All the big ones animate. If you put the first QR code from Bloomberg Consortium in your phone, you can get all of them to animate. They come apart and come back together and they tell you what the different things are. So take time to have fun with that. So they go back to Spain, they go back to the little White House, and Gala said, "You promised me a mansion." So he found her a mansion, a little town called Pujol. You can visit there as well. And she moves there, he stays at the house. She's 10 years older than Dali, and she dies. Well, that really fouled him up because she was the one who ran his life. So he left the little White House and never went back. And when you visit that, like the lady up here who was talking to me, you open the front door, there's a full-size stuffed polar bear. People of that little village didn't steal anything or move anything. There's dried out pallets, there are unfinished paintings because he never went back. And the people didn't steal anything. So it's like visiting Dali. It really is almost eerie. So he moves to the mansion where she was, where she died. She's buried there with her Cadillac and her Schiaparelli dresses. And then there's a fire in the bedroom, and he's old, and he's dodderish, and he doesn't know what's happening. So he moves back to Figueres, and the people who took care of him did horrible things to him. They cut him off from all his American friends. They weren't allowed to visit or to call on the phone. So they isolated him, and they had him sign blank paper. And they ran lithographs and prints from his etching paints and the etching stones. And they sold them through a gallery in Hawaii. Mr. Morse got wind of that and he got that stopped. It's illegal. He never saw the finished piece. The lithographer only signs after you get a good print. Then you sign. So that all came to a stop. And I have a piece I bought at a reputable gallery and it's signed in blue pencil. So it's probably from that period because Dali, as a lithographer, would never have done that. He would have used a black lead pencil, which never changes, so it doesn't fade or anything. So when I went to have my piece cleaned, there were a couple of little spots that needed cleaning. They couldn't clean the whole thing because the signature would have disappeared because it's water soluble. So be careful when you go to an auction. So he's buried at the museum in Figueres under the floor, and they dug him up a few years ago because some woman claimed she was his love child, and they had to get some DNA from him, and she wasn't. He's back under the floor of the museum in Figueres, and they told us his mustache is still pointing at 10 to 2. So he's happily resting there. She's at the mansion, and never the twain shall meet. Now, I'm going to take you in with my flashlight and show you things in paintings you would not see. Nuclear, mystical, and late work. So you understand how we got to nuclear now, and how he gets to late work, because he's older. But he's starting to look at spiritual things. He's not looking for religion, he's looking for some spirituality. So he's reading things on Buddhism and Christianity and Hinduism and so forth. So the painting behind me has a wonderful long title. Get my flashlight out. It's called Dalí desoxyribonucleic acid, or homage to Crick and Watson. So it has Gala's name, Dali's name, El Cid, and desoxyribonucleic acid, which is DNA. And what shape is it? It's a helix. It's a helix, isolated by Crick and Watson. And the painting is about life, death, and resurrection. So you see how far we've come from his early days to here. And it was painted especially. All right, paint. It was painted especially to raise money for this village that was washed away in a flood. And he wanted the survivors to have copies of the painting and the money from the sale of the painting. They were not altruistic, so to even think about giving money away was way beyond what Dali thought about. But they did give the money to the survivors. It's about life, death, and resurrection. This is Isaiah prophesying the Jesus story, though the banner has the title of the painting. This is life. This is DNA. This is a double helix, isolated by Crick and Watson. But look directly at that, and now close your eyes. Keep them closed. Squint just a hair, and you will see horses with riders on their backs coming to a jousting match. You got it? If you didn't get it the first time, squint again. You can see the lances, and you see the men on top of the horses. This life and energy flooding the painting. So a symbol for death is a salt crystal, inorganic, and each quadrant is an Arab with a gun. And he said if one shoots, it will collapse like dominoes. In many paintings, you will find Arab men or women because they brought so much culture to Spain. They brought design and mathematics and all of those things. So he's honoring them in many paintings. So look for women with shawls over their hair or men dressed like this. So he's life and death. Everything else is about resurrection. All of this cloudy stuff up here is God the Father. These clouds and this angel are the very top of God's hair. And this is God's gray nose pointed toward the village. This is God's lip and his chin. So he's looking down at the village. Can you see the side of his face looking down at the village? This is the top of his head. This is God's shoulder, and here his other shoulder. This is God's upper chest. This is God's belly, his manhood, and his thighs, and his knees are behind his head. So God is up here looking at the village. But he's reaching down for Jesus, resurrection. The mountains are his armpit. This is God's shoulder, God's biceps, God's elbow, forearm, top of his wrist, top of his hand, and you just see the knuckles. Because his fingers are under Jesus.
You are too close to the inside.
Jesus' knees and
I have
thighs
this thing either.
and the drape. Jesus' belly with the wound from the soldier dripping blood. God has him by the side. This is Jesus' upper chest, his upper arm, elbow, forearm, wrist, and hand. And Jesus' face is upside down. So God is raising him. This is Dali. Dali is watching the whole scene. And she represents Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother, and Martha's sister Mary from the New Testament. But when you go to Catalonia and you go into a bakery, this is the shape of the bread in the bakery. So her hair becomes the communion bread, and she's wearing the altar cloth. Isn't that astounding? The Morses did not own this one. This came later. They owned all the other ones, so. Jane Pauley Sunday morning a few months ago when we were featured on her program, this painting was featured in there. Because Brad and his wife live here in town, of course he's in his 70s. And I asked him if he would talk to my students. He was up here a few weeks ago. And I said, boys and girls, this was Brad's painting over his bed. And he said, it was never my painting. It was always my parents' painting. It just hung over my bed. So, it was never his painting, but it did hang in his bed. That's all about nuclear physics. What white vegetable is this? Come on, you know what it is. You see it at the grocery store. Cauliflower, right. And each quadrant is a helix. And the whole cauliflower is a series of helixes. So nature into the helix. What's this?
The cherry.
The cherries.
That's how I make
The atoms flying around. The fruit bowl has morphed into a rhino horn. All animal horns are helixes from the tip to the head. Dali's holding a hollowed out beef horn from the slaughterhouse. That's Dali's hand. The absinthe bottle has designs that are helixes. This is a different kind of helix in the newel post. And the tablecloth is folded in the golden ratio of the Greeks. That's how the Greeks built the Parthenon. They didn't use spirals yet, or helixes. They used everything that was rectangular and square. So that's in honor of the Greeks. And Brad told us years ago, he thought that this was a trivet, you know, where mom put a hot pot. He didn't realize the tablecloth the design had lifted to cast a shadow underneath it. So everything's moving through time and space, except the bird. And the bird is not moving. I had a fourth grader say why, and I didn't know when he asked. But when I went to the Little White House years ago, there's the bird in the prop room. It's stuffed, and it's up on a pedestal. So it's the only thing in here that's not moving, because it can't move. It's just a stuffed old swallow in the prop room. And you can visit there to this day. If you go to Barcelona, it's very easy to rent a car and go up and visit all these places. Start here, looking at the painting behind me. So this whole gallery is called Nuclear, Mystical, and Late Work. So in this painting, the red and the green have to do with nuclear mystical because movies had just brought in Technicolor. And Dali loved film. He made films as a surrealist. So the Toreador is a real man. He was killed by the bull. His name is Manoletto. So focus on the green. The green is his necktie. And look right above the green, you'll see a white shirt button, and you'll see the collar of his white shirt. The red is his cape tossed over his shoulder, and this shoulder has fancy epaulets made of bugs. Not afraid of bugs. Okay, so that's his torso. But his head is tilted like this, and you're going to be looking up under the chin. So, here we go. So the light is coming across his face the same. So right above the shirt button is the neck with the shadow from the chin. Chin is light and dark because of the shadow from the nose. Lips are pinkish. This is his cheekbone. You're looking under the dark nostrils to the top of the bright shiny nose. One eye is behind Venus. The other eye is here with a tear for the bull. When you animate this, that tear drops down and falls into the water. So I kid you not, it's fun to animate. This is his forehead and his red cap with netting, and his ear, and back down to his neck, and he's looking over this way. Can you see him?
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to go up closer and look at some of the little stuff in here. But watch what happens with Toreador. He disappears in the lights. Here's the bull. This is the bull that did him in. Here's his snout and a pool of blood, and his forehead, and his ear, and his horns. There's our bull, and here are the picks in his shoulder. And where the picks are picking is a salute to Andy Warhol, Dali's New York buddy. And Andy Warhol told Dali, stay outrageous, that's how people remember you. So that's in honor of Andy Warhol. Gala's frowning, she didn't like bullfighting. This guy is saluting her. He has a green cape. His elbows are bent, he's made of bugs. Here's his head, and his torso, and his hips, and his knees, and his feet are way down here. But she's not smiling. She's looking down here, though, at little Dali. And what does he have on? The sailor suit from childhood, so that's why he's little. And his favorite toy was a wooden hoop from a barrel. All boys had wooden hoops because they rolled to see how far they go before they fell over. He rolled his with a fossil bone. The roses represent Gala and beauty. The shadow is Dali, and those are actually the same size. They can almost fit puzzle pieces like that. This is the marble head of the French philosopher Voltaire. It's still in the prop room of the Little White House today. But if you look carefully, the eyeballs are rich merchants' faces. They're wearing black velvet hats. They have lace under their collars. And they're looking at this character who's a slave. So they're looking to buy a slave. And two pieces to the left of me are called the slave market and the disappearing bust of Voltaire. So you'll be able to find him there. The flies are flying at Dali. He's not afraid anymore. This is where Dali lived. This is Port Yagat. This is just over the hill from those first paintings in the first gallery. And the house was here, but years before they had built the French had built a Club Med up the hill behind his house. And this is a French tourist in her bikini, right outside your studio window, right there. So when you go to visit, you park here and you walk around the beach and you go into the house. You make reservations and everything is just like it was when Dali walked out. At the bottom of the painting is a Dalmatian dog. These are footprints in the sand, and this footprint has water in it. And this is the underside of his chin, licking the puddle, and his ear dangles. He's looking under his chin. This is his shoulder and his leg, and his foot's in the sand. This is his back and his back leg, and his foot's in the sand. This is a swatch on his tummy and a shadow underneath it. Can you see him? Yeah. Dali copied that from a magazine. And the original artist sued him. That's called plagiarism. He didn't know there was an original artist. So he had to pay him off to keep this in here. And the last time I was there, I brought a rock back from here. And I can trust you to pass my picture. I brought the rock back from that bit of water. So you can find it. And I made a paper mache bird whose name is Salvador, and he's standing on the rock from that bit of water right down there at the bottom of Port Yagat. So that's my long time. The Morses who owned all of it wanted to give it to any museum that would show it. And no museum wanted the whole thing. They wanted this piece or that piece. They didn't want the whole thing. And a young attorney saw a New York newspaper said, art world dilly-dallies over Dali's. And he came here to St. Pete and checked it out, and they loved the city, and that's how we got it.
Yeah, all of this stuff that we're seeing is his. That one reminds me of Crete.
That does remind me of Crete. Yeah, the mighty one.
Self-portrait. Вот полетела птица.
кукурузой. Starting to pull things apart. Будет 6-7 дней.
Excuse us.
She can't do clothes.
What did he say?
You're big as the wall.
No, I am not.
This painting is
This monumental work depicts Christopher Columbus stepping ashore in America, but he is hardly the largest figure here. Notice the banner he plants before him. On it is Dali's wife, Dali, representing the Virgin Mary and painted in the style of the Immaculata, or Immaculate Conception. Some painters get their inspiration from nature, lovers, Greek mythology, and current events. Dalí was inspired by all of that, and especially the magazine Scientific American.